Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here, and I'm just kind of doing this video as an announcement, um, kind of a personal choice that I'm going to make here. And it's a difficult thing to do because it is so fucking weird right now with shit. I try to, slowly um, withdraw my forces, but at the same time, I'm going to be trying to muster up some courage and also try to essentially try to distract myself from everything that's going on right now. Um, you know, and what does that mean? I mean, like, just not comply with certain things I find unacceptable. Obviously, I've come to the point where I will wear a mask in a store, but not outside, and not in my own home or in my own car, for fuck's sake. So, a lot of people are wearing them outside. It's not a requirement, but I refuse to wear one outside. I just do. Um, Now, if there was a guideline, I'd probably at this point I would resist it because from what I've seen, there's no scientific evidence that the virus is transmitted outside that commonly. So, not saying it can't happen, but it can. I will not comply to guidelines that I find intolerable. Um, for example, nobody from your outside your household in your household. So I went for a ride last night, like I like to do sometimes, and I saw restaurants with people that were clearly, with people inside that were clearly not members of each other's household, and I saw cars parked at places where, you know, on the street where if you were parking there, you have to not be a part of that person's household. Like for example, my new place. I do hear people going in and outdoors. I don't think they're all members of each other's household. So that is, well, one thing that I've decided that I'm not going to comply with. Just not going to comply in general like that. As far as the mask thing, I don't know. I just don't want to cause trouble with businesses that I support and stuff. That's kind of what it is. Um, I know there's some recent controversy because of that Danish mask study, and what I'm trying to say is that I'm going to still probably call lawyers and see if the mandate is constitutional next week because I want to have a consultation with a lawyer. I don't think I'm going to sue the city of Madison, but if they did, come after me for whatever reason, I would definitely fucking fight it. $1,000 fine. As far as everything else in general, I'm probably going to still do videos for a while, but they might dwindle down a little bit as far as about this subject. And it's a little bit different than me saying in the summer that I'm going to quit videos because I think that's a little extreme. Quit videos about the virus. The virus. So, I think that's kind of what I think is probably the best way forward. And I'm going to try to get more into my personal development goals that I've had since January because part of this whole thing is, this year has been a lot of challenges and heartbreak, honestly. I don't know why I was so affected by it, but I had a breakup earlier in the year that really bear down on me pretty hard because that's not me crying. That's just me waking up and having allergies. It bore down on me pretty hard, and I was pretty depressed and devastated over it. And people questioned why, I was so devastated. I think there's a lot of issues with the way that the relationship was and who the person was, their own intensity and their own issues that were, kind of pulled into that, subconsciously, probably, some extent. So that forced me to really take a look at a lot of different things. And then that was starting right when the virus was starting. And that was really, and then there was a singer that I was working with who um, could it possibly be alive? We, got very close to starting a live version of my project, which I'm still going to try to do. As a matter of fact, I think that that's going to be like not my primary focus, but definitely a huge focus in the coming months because we got so close. I mean, I remember we did my song, which is one of my most popular songs. Some of my songs aren't successes. I realize that, but some of them people really like. Like "Time Will Tell If Our Love Is Gonna Last," really AOR song, which ironically was based on my ex-girlfriend that I was talking about, earlier in this video. He really did a good job on that, and I really liked his take on that. We played it with a drummer. There was a possible bass player who deleted me from Facebook, but because of my political opinions. But whatever. And so that's kind of the the gist of that. I think trying to just get into my passions instead of paying so much attention to all this stuff. And I know that YouTube is one of my passions, and so is politics. So are politics. But it really at this point is become an albatross with mental health and my life and my aspirations. And that really goes into the next thing is like, am I scared of this great reset and all this stuff that the conspiracy stuff talks about? Absolutely, I'm fucking scared of it. But I was listening to Rune Soup a couple weeks ago before I moved, and there was an episode about the Invisibles. I think I might have mentioned this before a little bit, but Invisibles is a comic that I got into when it came out, which is I feel pretty cool because I have issue number 1. It was a Grant Morrison before he kind of went more like DC establishment kind of thing, I mean, he was still part of DC. It was still DC Vertigo, but he kind of had a lot more crazy ideas. I like Grant Morrison a lot. I don't like everything he's done, but he's a great writer. He's a unique person. Invented a lot of characters we actually see sometimes in Marvel movies now. We see like I think one of the X-Men. Well, that's not a Marvel. It is a Marvel movie, but it's not, because they separated the two franchises for a while because of ownership. But some of the characters in these newer X-Men related movies are Grant Morrison creations. Like I think in Deadpool, there was a couple of the characters and some of the X-Men and stuff. So very influential writer, but he had this Invisibles, which the Matrix was actually very very influenced by, to say the least. He never sued or anything. I don't think he could sue with these kind of archetypes and stuff, but I don't think he wanted to either. I mean, I think Neil Gaiman could have sued J.K. Rowling though for Harry Potter because Harry Potter looks exactly like Tim. The fuck is his name? Tim. I'm Tim. I just know of is Tim. I forgot his last name from Books of Magic. I don't read that much Books of Magic, so I just have the first trade paperback from back in the day. So, Tim Hunter, sorry. So, I messed up. So, in the Illuminatus trilogy by Robert Anton Wilson, and the other guy that co-wrote that. People always think of Robert Anton Wilson, but it was another guy that actually co-wrote it. That book and The Invisibles have a lot in common, actually. But the basic premise is that there are, as far as what I'm trying to tie this into, the whole crisis that we're in and everything else, is that there are entities, maybe not, if you want to call it a metaphorical entity or like an allegory for the unconscious mind or something like that, we can do that too. But there are entities that are trying to instill fear in the population. And Invisibles are called archons. And they live and thrive on fear. They live on and thrive on misery, fear, and hatred. And I got to thinking this the last week or two because I was going through a really fucked up time because one of my best friends and I, for many years, have kind of come to an impasse over a lot of stuff. And I think it was more, you know, some of the stuff he said to me this summer and a lot of stuff about, uh, some of the political stuff and, some of the things he said. And it's just on the way he treated me, and I treated him like shit too, so it kind of was bad. So that got me thinking because, like, all this hatred and all this muck of fear and chaos and destruction, death, yeah, literal death, um, that there, I mean, I do believe that there are real deaths happening, by the way. It's not like fucking doesn't happen. I think all this stuff is feeding into this agenda of these people, of these not literal entities, but like unconscious forces in these people that are trying to gain power over people, um, kind of like the archons and the invisibles. Because okay, so Rune Soup is Gordon White, and he was interviewing this guy about talking to this guy about the invisibles, and they were talking about this concept, and I was just like, fuck, you know. So when we talk about what we're being fed in the media and people being afraid, jumping out of the way, running down the block if you're walking down the street. Some of these people, it's like going across the street if you're walking, I'm sure a lot of black people are used to that. Fucking white people walking across the street if you're walking, it's fucking, but now it's, because of the virus, people, it's fucking insane. So, and it's not insane, I'm not saying that doesn't exist or it doesn't kill people or whatever. I'm just saying like that kind of reaction is insane. That's mental illness because especially outside. Okay. So anyways, social distancing, jumping at fucking 6 feet from where a person is walking, because they don't have a mask on or whatever. That's fucking mental illness. It's one thing to say like, oh God, we're going to have a gathering of 20 people. You better wear masks in this gathering, blah, 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 inside in this cooped up room versus fucking, and then there's vulnerable people in that gathering that I'm talking about. Like there's an 80-year-old there or something, you better wear a mask. Difference between that and like jumping into the alley, or not the alley, jumping into the gutter because I'm walking down the street and not wearing a mask outside, for fuck's sake. Anyways, that did happen to me. So this fear consciousness, and I talked about this in my very first video on the virus, actually back from March. This fear consciousness is infective, almost more infectious. It's infectious, almost more than the virus in a way. And actually, I would have to say it probably is more infectious than the virus, considering how people are acting. So I don't want to buy into that anymore. I think the best way to, and they talk about this in reality transurfing too. So what I'm saying is I'm going to jump into that shit, like all the new age shit. I'm a member of Rune Soup, which is Gordon White's podcast and his website. It's only $10 a month. You get access to. I'm not doing an ad. I'm just saying, like, I was surprised at how cool this was. You get access to all these like courses on magic and like fucking like. I think there might be some astrology stuff and some, even some like herbal stuff. I forgot everything that's on there, but the primary thing is like chaos magic and some of that stuff. So I'm very excited. I'm going to be taking these courses, and you get all these like group intention spreadsheets and stuff. Like you can go and write your intention and other people focus on it. All this shit. It's pretty crazy. There's a fuckload of stuff and forums and it's a pretty cool thing he has going there. It's cheap as fuck. So I spent so much money on Udemy courses over the last 5 years. Like sometimes it'll go on sale for $20. It's like that would be like it's $10 a month for this thing, but it's like over the course of a year, that's like half a year of how many Udemy courses I've bought each year in the past 5 years for a year of Rune Soup. So I'm excited about that. Trying to get back into meditation and actual, the fitness stuff, affirmations, and just like trying to get back into manifesting things. There's a lot of talk about that. You know, there's a lot of different things, and it, you know, manifesting myself out of this fucking bullshit. You know, into a better reality. I mean, I think we're at the darkness before the dawn. Hopefully, I had a really interesting exchange on YouTube with Lada Dunsheva. I forgot. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. This absolutely breathtaking astrologer. She's married, but you know, I'm not trying to. That's you know that it lives fucking half of the world away. But she was. I was telling her about some of these podcasts and some of this astrology stuff, and like how it's all paralleled, like with everybody that's saying that December or January things are going to change with the whole crisis this year. Of course, it'll become a self-fulfilling prophecy either way. That's my belief. Because self-fulfilling prophecies are probably the most common thing. That's manifestation 101, pretty much, self-fulfilling prophecies. So I think she was saying that my, you know, astrological alignment, because I'm like dual air sign, when we enter Jupiter Saturn, fucking new age quackery, I know, but I don't care. The Jupiter Saturn alignment into Aquarius is going to be beneficial for my, you know, sun and rising sign, which is Gemini and Libra, respectively. So it'll be better than, even though my moon sign is Capricorn, and that's where it is right now. But I think if we want to do a metaphor for this, it's like it's dragging down your energy level, what's going on, whether regardless if you believe it astrologically or not. It drags down your energy level, your fucking will to do things, and your motivation, and your very sanity is on the line. And this happened in January. Like, I felt something was going on, and I didn't really talk about this at all, but that much. But around January 5th, I had this really strange illness, and earlier in the previous month, I was sick too, which I know was something different, unfortunately, which I'm not going to go into, but probably, at least I think it was probably something different. And then I was sick again, like a couple of weeks later, and then in January, it was I couldn't breathe, you know. I couldn't breathe, and I don't remember. I was really dazed and had a really bad fever. It was really fucked up. It was like that was the most sick I'd been since I was a kid. Like, as far as like fever and like just feeling like total shit, like the worst flu if it was a flu. A lot of symptoms were very similar to the virus, you know. So they are saying that it was in America. You know, there's a lot of controversy in America months earlier. A lot of immunologists and epidemiologists are saying that it probably was here. In fact, they have some early cases in Wisconsin that were maybe in December. So do I believe it was the virus? I don't know. I think the likelihood is very likely. And then I know some other people that got including a family member that got diagnosed in March, and with with a negative test and negative antibody test. But who the fuck knows? And the doctor actually diagnosed them. So why the fuck would they do that? That's really weird. I think sometimes, you know, there is some really weird shit going on with this, like I said. But my point being is that this year started out really fucked up and rough for me. And a great winter depression. I was going to say recession, but it's not economic. So I was really depressed in January, and it's like January 12th was like the first Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter conjunction or whatever that had happened, which, you know, astrology podcast, and I think Rune Soup talks about as far as the virus stuff, which is pretty fascinating, regardless of what people think about it. So it was a really weird month. And there was something else that really weird that happened. All of a sudden, I had this weird interest in like the year 1918 because of the movie. I think it was 1917, 1918, or that time frame. Because I think there was that movie 1917 that came out about World War I, and then I was just kind of like thinking about it a lot for some reason. And there was also like the whole thing with the, um, yeah, because it was 20, it was 2020 and shit. So, and then there was also, I had really gotten back into Metallica, and for the first time in years. And I wanted to see Johnny Got His Gun. I watched that, and I felt this really, that was when I was sick, and I felt really fucked up and weird and depressed at that time. My ex-girlfriend was calling me, and I was just like, oh my God, my life, I feel so weird. So it was a really weird period, and I felt like the fucking, just a weird sense of dread and death and destruction was laying ahead, whether or not it was like premonition. And that kind of reminds me, and regardless of what you think about the virus and stuff, the death rate, or non-death rate, or case demic, or whatever, or Great Reset, which is pretty fucking scary. So then that reminds me, because in about late August of 2001, me and my friends went to Perkins, because we used to do that and talk for hours, drink coffee, eat junk food and bad fucking fried food, right? Or shakes or whatever the fuck. And I saw the American flag. I was reading a lot of Noam Chomsky at the time. I was like, fuck America, which I, kind of get back into, honestly, because of all the shit that's going on. Even though it's better than some places, of course, right now with the virus stuff, because like fucking people literally locked in their homes in some places. So the American flag was all folded and like looked like it was like suffering, like it was like a child in a corner, and like something was fucked up. And I had this really weird sense of dread. A couple of weeks later, 9/11 happened. Could that have been a premonition? I don't know. It was really weird. So just some of these things happen in life. I mean, you could say that maybe it's all coincidence or bullshit or whatever, but it was fucking weird, man. It was I've never forgotten that incident. So early in the year, when I was thinking about 1918 and fucking Johnny Got His Gun and Metallica's One video, because they used a lot of footage from that. They actually bought the fucking movie to use in the video. They owned it for a while, I think, or some company that they had to do with or something. Really weird. Metallica is kind of a monster, literally, of weird shit. It's like James Hetfield can go out and he doesn't give a fuck, and he just hangs out with people still and stuff. And Lars Ulrich is hunkering in his fucking basement of his mansion, and then they're doing remote sessions for the new album. And I know they don't live in the same region, but it's just like, come on, man. They did those shows in the summer. It's like drive-in shows in the summer. Why can't they just fucking like get together in a room and get a rapid test or whatever the fuck? It's just like some of these things don't just defy logic. Like some of the stuff with the virus just defies logic, honestly. Like it's so contradictory. Like one thing, and I was going to do a video about speaking of that, there was a thread on Twitter, and Glenn Greenwald, of all people, actually shared it. It was Democrats, like a tally of the Democrat governors and mayors' hypocrisy regarding the virus. And of course, I said the worst was Newsom, and Newsom is the worst. That was the worst, of course. He was one of the most fucking hardcore to gung-ho about it. Anyways, that's not the subject of this video. So I'm trying to escape from all this stuff. I think that there's room to like maybe not think and obsess about what's going on. This sounds really crazy. Not obsess about what's going on in the world or with the virus for like hours at a time, like getting myself lost into other stuff, which I have not since this thing started, honestly. Like you can say that's a failure of the mental health system of the United States or something like that. But no, there's been times when I fucking there's days where I did not, there wasn't like a couple of minutes where I wasn't thinking about, oh my God, what's going to happen with this shit? And honestly, like, getting the virus scares me less, of course, of people's reaction to the virus. And I'm going to say that probably, unless I get the virus. The virus! So that's kind of like the thing. I have to escape from current events in the world. And I'm addicted to it. I think a lot of people are. Because I think when we watch the news or we listen to podcasts, we're always looking to get this outrage feeling coupled with this like camaraderie with our political echo chamber. It's like this neurological thing. We're aligned. Like I was listening to Joe Rogan interview Glenn Greenwald, and I think he's great. Both of those guys are great, of course. And Joe Rogan's really against a lot of the restrictions, by the way, which is fucking awesome. Naomi Wolf, has gotten criticized by Six X and Amber or whatever the fuck, however you pronounce his name, Tara Warwick. I don't think she deserves that criticism, by the way, even though she did vote for Biden, which is, was kind of she fucked up, but what is she doing now? Calling out lockdowns. So the whole thing is that we get aligned with this echo chamber, and we get this thrill. It's this like weird thrill. So we have our empathy circuits energized. At the same time, we have that adrenaline of the anger and the fucking the chaos. So I want to get away from all those feelings, even though I like some of those feelings. I want to think about other things, like about get back to dating, which I have, despite all this shit. I had a date in fucking a locked down state, at a restaurant. This is pretty awesome, and things didn't work out with her, and but it was whatever. Did like her birds. That was pretty cool. Her pet, fucking what was it? A pet rabbit. Pet rabbit. So, I've got to live my life. I want to really go like headstrong into my passions and my life. I have a new place. It's huge. It's way bigger than the attic I was living in for fucking 7 years. Got a new look with a hat. Wheeler Walker Jr., No, I love Wheeler Walker Jr. You should check it out. Country parody, but so good. It's like better than most country that's out today. So, yeah, so that's my whole thing. I'm going to be, just go knee deep into, or head first into a lot of this other stuff and not think about the virus all the time. And does that mean I'm over it? Just like my video about just because you're over it doesn't mean it's over. Oh, yeah, whatever, man. I mean, it's like you're feeding into this whole thing if you follow along with it too much. I fed into it. Okay, half my videos are about the fucking virus now. I mean, probably over the years, like the last 8 or 9 months, it's been constant virus talk in my videos. So I used to be doing reviews for people and shit, on Fiverr. That's what a lot of my videos are, like music reviews. But it's like now I'm doing like content about the virus and politics all the time. It's like getting a little fucking, and I'm not saying I'm going to stop, because I'm not, but I want to try consciously to try to ease myself off of it. Maybe, gradual reduction, because obviously going cold turkey did not work months back, because like a couple weeks, months, like maybe a month later, I started doing it again, or maybe not even 2 or 3 weeks. I can't remember. I'd have to take a look. So I think by withdrawing our attention, it's kind of a concept of magic. Withdrawing your attention from something can either make it go away or make it increase even more. But I think with regards to feelings like fear and people that are feeding off of fear, that's a different story. And I truly believe that withdrawing the attention from that alone is probably going to be beneficial. I might actually do some songs about these concepts, especially with the invisibles and stuff. Some conceptual stuff has kind of got in my head in the last couple hours. I'm just like, maybe I'll try to write some lyrics about this shit. I do actually have a song where the second half has some lyrics about that stuff, but one of my recent songs, even though the first part is Clark Asher Smith, it was kind of like Holy Wars of Punishment Do. The first part is about the, Mideast Crisis. Second part's about the Punisher. I did kind of a similar thing to that with At Saturn's Gate. I forgot Forgot some of the names of my songs. It's crazy. Vindication is due or some shit, or the fuck. The resistance is due. The resistance is due. That's Saturn's Gate. So that is kind of what I'm looking to do, is get the fuck off of that track. You know, the track of fear. And I'm about to go out into the world right now. Probably gonna pick up some coffee because that's my thing, you know, on Saturdays, and probably go grocery shopping. Don the fucking obey mask, which I have, which I love, even though hardly get any comments about it. Nobody, which you know, kind of makes me a little disappointed. Because I love attention. I'm gonna go shopping and, you know, get some stuff, and I'm probably, and depending on what happens tonight, I might hang out with some friends. Oh my god, $1,000 fine! Oh shit, you know. And if I do get, if there was, like I said earlier in the video, if there was someone that called the police or something on us, I'd be like, fuck, you know. And I do have a friend that does some gatherings that he might actually hold off for a few weeks, because I guess maybe he wants to see how it's enforced or something. I don't know. But no, I'm gonna continue to live my life as best as I can. Get everything unpacked in my new place and start going to the gym. I have a new treadmill that my brother-in-law gave me. That's fucking incredible. It's in 10 feet away from me right now, or less. This apartment is fucking huge. It has I looked up in this, like, there's a storage unit upstairs that we have for free. And it was almost like half the size of my attic room where I was living. I was like, holy shit. I'm just like, someone could live up there, upstairs. See it? That's the place right there. Pretty insane. I mean, well worth the money if I can handle it. I'm gonna try my best. I'll fucking eat ramen for months until I'm caught up with bills or something. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll figure it out. I shouldn't be buying coffee, but a friend found a bunch of change, so so I'll be doing that for a while. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to be positive, get back into all my new age stuff I was doing this summer, and there were some things that I was trying to manifest that unfortunately did not manifest completely, but it got really fucking close seemingly. So really close, like really close. And there was something else that manifested recently that I was kind of in shock about as I thought about it more recently. I didn't really realize it at the time because I was kind of, you know, when something happens to you in life and you realize you were thinking about it months before, like, oh, what if that happened, blah blah blah. Sometimes you're just like, so like, that was just like a memory that came about, you know, like, oh yeah, I guess I was thinking about that. That's kind of interesting, you know. But then you realize it and you're like, holy shit, I was saying that. I'm not going to go into that in this video because some of those things are pretty related to a lot of stuff, but it was pretty interesting. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of how life goes sometimes, you know. And who knows, maybe next month, like, oh my god, I was thinking about that 2 months ago. Wow, that happened. Oh, I got this thing in the mail. What the fuck, you know. That's why it's really important to watch your thoughts and watch your reality, you know, as it unfolds. So that's kind of the archons of the invisibles are actually in our own minds a lot of the time, you know. I got scared of all this shit happening, of another lockdown, and, you know, I made fun, you know, it was like, oh, well, what if they do this? It's like they did, you know. So the manifestation thing is to live your life, what was it, what does Wayne Dyer say? I don't remember, but there's so much stuff, you know, there's so much material. So that's something I'm going to be doing is just living my life, and hopefully I don't get a lot of resistance. Really haven't so far. I think most people are pretty laid back. I don't think, like, when I moved into this apartment, a little story about that. There were some people helping some other guy move. Nothing on, no, they're young people, and they were just like, just doing normal shit. They weren't jumping out of the way, you know, and shit like that. It was like, what the fuck, you know? So, and then there was other people that are wearing masks in the hallway and shit. So it's just like, are you just gonna, like, I don't know. I'm just fucking gonna live my life. I mean, if I get shit from someone, then that's, there's nobody that's, usually people aren't even in the fucking hall at my place. So, but I'm not gonna hunker down. Like I said in my other video, I'm not gonna hunker down. I'm not gonna let those statistics get to me. I'm not gonna let the news get to me. I'm not gonna let people's thoughts or reactions about this get to me. It's not like I'm gonna go jump into a fucking huge rally of people and like have people cough on me or something. But like I said, I probably had it anyways. If other people want to, and I'll respect other people's decision, like my friend I was talking about before. If he wants to close down shop for a couple weeks, majority not because of the actual virus, but because of these possible fines and stuff. That's his choice. That's his house. Just like I argued with another guy that was going over there for these gatherings, and he's like, I'm not going to come if nobody wears masks. I'm like, dude, it's his house. If he wants to make people wear masks, I'll consider doing it. But it's just one of those things. I don't know. I don't know where masks fit into the whole narrative, like as far as what you should or should not do. I'm undecided about it myself. I just do it because I don't think people should make people like they're going on a date to fucking wear a mask, and when they go home with a girl or boy or whatever, man or woman or whatever. I don't think that should be the case. I don't think of like 4 or 5 people that are hanging out all the time that don't really go out that much anywhere else are not wearing masks. I don't think that should be like a fucking thing. If we were talking about 10 or 20 people, maybe that's a little different. I don't know. I don't have the answers to this. I just believe that I'm going to fucking withdraw as much as I can. I'm taking fucking 7 or 8 supplements that I've read in various studies fight the virus. So I'm probably going to do that until, or at least take a lot of it, like the vitamin D, at least until like things die down a lot more, which I hope they do, which I believe they will. So, and that's not just astrology. I just think that the tendency is extreme things are not long lasting usually. I mean, you could say the Soviet Union or, Cuba or whatever, they had dictatorships for 100 years or 50 years or whatever the fuck, and that's true, but not 100 years, but nearly 100 years. So, but things just, people aren't gonna fucking, I don't know. It's weird. Now they have the vax, so they don't have to really say much anymore about people, about Trump rallies or whatever. That was one thing that pissed me off about the Trump rally thing, like people saying that's the only, they're acting like that's the only reason for the surge. It's like, are you fucking insane? What about blue states that have surges that don't have a lot of Trump supporters? Well, counties that don't have Trump supporters at all, like, California and shit, And ironically, Newsom was in Orange County where he claims that the stats were better, which is a Republican fucking county. That's so funny when he had that infamous dinner. So yeah, like I said in a previous video, I'm not going to follow the fucking edicts and guidelines until these people actually follow them. Like, I guess Dianne Feinstein wasn't wearing a mask inside. These people are fucking hypocrites, man. I mean, I was actually talking to a Republican friend at work, and I told him, or not at work, but virtually. Yeah. I was telling him about how I hate all this shit. And like, I'm a liberal. I voted for Bernie Sanders. I fucking marched in the Iraq protests. I voted for Ralph Nader. I fucking buy Noam Chomsky. I shop at Trader Joe's. I'm like, I don't shop at Whole Foods, but Trader Joe's. It's like, I don't try to, I throw a lot of shit away, which is dumb, but, like sometimes I'll throw away stuff that's recyclable, but I don't know who the fuck is better than anybody else. That's the whole thing. And that's why I stopped watching Young Turks, because they were just fucking so up their own ass after a while. I watched them for like 5 years straight, and then I stopped, like this summer, because one of the things that they started doing is just, they started almost celebrating people's deaths that were dying from coronavirus. Like, it seemed like they were laughing inside at what was his name? Herman Cain and like people that went to Trump rallies dying. I'm just like, this is abominably fucked up and horrible, and wrong. And I don't like fucking Trump rallies and shit. I mean, it's like a cult. It's funny. I mean, he's like a stand-up comedian basically. Some of it's funny, but it's a cult. It's definitely a cult. I don't support Trump. I certainly don't support Biden. I mean, honestly, if I had the choice with what's going on, like I said, I would have voted for Trump, but I couldn't bring myself to vote because, as far as lockdowns, just pure. If you said lockdowns, yes or no, Biden lockdowns, Trump no lockdown, Trump or Trump. But the fact of the matter is that the whole thing with the Biden wanting a lockdown and stuff, he's actually contradicted himself already about that several times in the media recent days. Osterholm and some other people probably want a lockdown, but he has like some Uber rep on his fucking upcoming cabinet. That probably will happen. So Uber is, I mean, if you think you're an Uber rep, I mean, nothing would surprise me with these fuckers, right? Let's just face facts. But if you think like an Uber rep that actually cared about their business bottom line, even if they're a former Uber rep, well, it's a sliding door with these people. It's a revolving door, not sliding door. Sliding door. It's a revolving door with these people, with these companies, and the government. If you think an Uber rep would want a lockdown, you're crazy. Because Uber's major business, I mean, I would say probably 50% is bars. Drunk people wanting to go home, after a bar. So if you think they want a lockdown, I think you have another thing coming. And then you have to think about the petroleum industry execs that are on his cabinet too. And this is a criticism, but it's also like, oh, thank God in a way that it's going to be some normalcy of the old school. And this is almost like it's not a repudiation of this, but it's like at least there'll be some old school corrupt crony fucking capitalists in his cabinet that probably want their bottom line to continue. So a lockdown, especially the petroleum industry, you have to, cars and fucking products and stuff. You can't have a lockdown for that. So my opinion is that Biden will not do a lockdown. He's going to pressure maybe he'll withdraw some funds from a state that has a high rate of the virus. If it is, even by January, this whole surge it may be over. If you look at a lot of this stuff from history and viruses and epidemiology and even this virus. So will there be a lockdown? Every day, in every way, there is less of likelihood of a lockdown, of a national lockdown. Every day that passes. Every day that there's new restrictions that people are, flouting and all that stuff, So I don't think there will be a national lockdown at this point. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But I don't think there will be one. I mean, there is one in Madison, Wisconsin, basically. I mean, it's not a lockdown, but it's pretty close to it. It's a light lockdown. It's a social distancing lockdown, whatever the fuck you want to call it, or a social distancing mandate. So that's what I got to say about that. And the question that comes up is if I'm going to take the vaccine. Fuck no, not at least until there's like a year or two of people taking it. If it's required, I will rebel at every chance I get. I'll have to quit my job, I guess, if they require me to come back to the office and I have to take the vaccine or something like that. Do I think that's going to happen? It's hard to say. I mean, you have 77 million people, or how many? 73 million people that voted for Trump, okay? And a huge percentage of those, if not the majority, are against lockdowns, against fucking mandatory vaccines. That's why Ticketmaster had to come out and say, no, we're not going to make people take the vaccine or get tested. It just depends on the local guidelines. We have to save our face about that. Yeah, that's the way they had to say that. If it was really those ideas were that fucking promulgated as far as the populace, if people were that brainwashed, if people were that up their own ass, about this whole thing, then that would not have been, it was like, yay, they'll force vaccines on people to go to concerts. Yay. It would be like a popular thing, like among people. But it was highly unpopular and highly contentious and highly ratioed on Twitter. So they fucking backed the fuck down. And considering how people are scared of like these right wing militias and stuff, which is a real fear to some extent sometimes, like, unless you don't believe in the some of the stories from the 90s of stuff that happened, which could be true too, could be not true or whatever. So the I don't think they're going to force. I don't think they have the political will to put it this way. They could try, but I don't think they have the political will to force people into vaccinating or necessarily, getting tested. I don't think they can force people to do that because there's enough people that are just against it in America, at least. And, bodily autonomy, lawsuits, like there's lawsuits all over the place right now with all this stuff, Tarl Warwick is actually right about that. There's going to be more lawsuits. I think there will be ongoing after the crisis ends, which it will, hopefully. Now they're talking about like the World Economic Forum was talking about like a computer version of COVID-19 being, it's like, I mean, there's just nothing that is off the table with these people that they just keep. It's like the manifestation thing actually is a good way to think about this. You think about something as a threat and you're afraid of it, it'll make it more likely, right? So, and that goes for conspiracy and, all this stuff too. So that's basically my premise and my thoughts of today. I don't want to have to fight the government or corporations as far as like, I want to live my life and leave me the fuck alone. Now, if they do come after me, I will fight. That's what I'm saying. I don't own a gun. Maybe I should. I don't know. I don't know how much that is against a drone or a tank, though. Like I said, that's a liberal argument against guns. It's not a liberal argument against guns. It's more of this like reality. Like, if you don't own a fucking like a bunch of Uzis, you're not going to be able to protect against the SWAT team knocking down your door because you had one extra person in your house because of the coronavirus. But, fucking whatever, So I don't think they're enforcing a lot of this stuff that much. I think Madison is going to be, maybe if there's a dorm party or something or orgy or something. Oh, man, never mind. So I think maybe then they'll knock down your door, but I don't think they're going to do it. I mean, restaurants don't enforce it. I forgot about this. Last night I realized it. I've been to a couple restaurants since the mandate of your household only came into being. I went with a friend. We don't live together. And they served us just fine. They didn't check our IDs or anything. I think they might have checked one of ours for drinking or something, but fuck, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna last. We will resist. We will resist in more ways than one. There were people actively resisting with lawsuits and people resisting any kind of nefarious thing that could result from this, is what I mean. There's civil liberties. I will resist by living my life and living as if, that's what I was thinking of before Wayne Dyer, living as if my life is normal. People will say, it's selfish, oh my God, you're going to kill grandma, or you'll die on a ventilator, oh, whatever. I'll die on a ventilator then. I'll kill grandma, Not anything that America hasn't been good at doing for the last 70 years anyways, killing people. So it's probably spreading diseases too, So spreading misery amongst the third world, which lockdowns do, by the way. So yeah, I'm just going to fucking live my life. And if I get confronted, I'll be calm and peaceful and not be a fucking, an asshole. But if someone, threatens me or something, of course, But I got into a bad fight with my old roommate, called him some bad names as I was moving, because I dropped this huge box and then, for all these things that he's, he's for, as far as it's kind of, I got riled up, and he was mad. Finally, he decided to help me move some of my stuff over here because it was overwhelming. I could have had stuff there for weeks, but I didn't. Now everything's moved. I got to unpack, set up my fucking, like, my music recording stuff, and I have my basic stuff set up in my bedroom, but I have to fucking do a bunch of stuff. But anyways, keep the positive energy going. Resist if you have to, if you do get, like, arrested for having your girlfriend over when there's a lockdown or something, fight it in court. There's a difference between that and having a huge house party with a bunch of people spitting on each other, with some, like, 70-year-olds there or something, or 80-year-olds. That's a little different than fucking. There's a spectrum, But I think those those smaller lawsuits, like, fucking whatever, you're caught not wearing a mask on a fucking trail in place in California where it's required or something like that. Sue the fuck out of the government. Fuck that shit. That's ridiculous. When it's unreasonable and unacceptable, fucking fight. That's what I have to say. Is this an Australian hat? I guess it is, isn't it? I got this when I was in high school, actually. My senior photo is actually with this hat on. It's funny. But I found it while moving, and I'm just like, this fucking fits, this whole thing. So anyways, that's all. In the words of Tarl Warwick, peace out.